Robert Brawn. My family, the Brawn family, has been one of the really active families in Good Sam for a long time. My dad went to school at Cal Berkeley, and when he was close to graduating, had an interview at Hewlett Packard up in Palo Alto. And Mom and Dad and my big brother John came and visited Good Sam because it was one of the very few EUB, Evangelical United Brethren churches in the area. And when they came to visit, there was still scaffolding up on the building. And then Dad did get the job at HP, and once they moved in, he graduated, he got the job, they moved to the area. They started attending Good Sam and became very active very quickly. Mom was the accompanist and then the choir director for I think over 30 years. Dad was in a lot of the committees. Between Mom and Dad, they probably served in every committee and board and task force that the church ever had. So I attended here prenatally before I was born for a couple of months. I was born in '61, and my family was already involved. And in fact, I was baptized by Reverend Fix, I think a year or so before Roy Dunn came to Good Sam. And so we were active. And as John and I were kids, we were always at the church. When we got into high school, we became particularly active with YF, the Youth Fellowship. And there was a time there when John and I were both in junior high or high school that it seems like there was a family member at the church 4 or 5, 6 times a week, all the time. And as I was growing up in that family, I thought that was normal. That's how my family operated. So that's how I operated. And so I was involved. When I got to be a little bit older, I was involved as a youth member of the administrative board and the council on ministries and a few other things. We were active with the sound system. But the thing that really solidified the activity for both John and myself was the youth fellowship group. YF was extremely dynamic and big and successful. And in fact, you've heard other people talk about Ernie Bringus and the Ernie years of the YF. The year that I joined high school as a freshman was the first school year after Ernie left Good Sam. So I joined YF when it was cast in the image of Ernie, and it gradually changed while I was in high school. And it did shrink, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But it was still an incredibly vital group. And it had a lot of related side activities. Camp Celebration, the Good Sam Singers, paper drives and snow trips and coffee and chaos nights, and just a whole lot of things that kept a lot of the high school youth involved with the YF program, and as a result of that, with Good Sam Church. Became a very big part of my life. I did all of my socializing at YF, not at my high school. And that was influential in developing who I am. I also started playing the guitar, and the reason that Mom and Dad bought a guitar for John and me primarily was because we had tried other instruments that we didn't fall in love with. And the YF meetings had this row of guitar players on the hearth of the fireside, in the fireside room, playing guitars with people singing along. And Mom and Dad thought that we were musically inclined enough and active enough with YF that we would enjoy playing the guitar. And it turns out we did. John moved to the bass fairly quickly. I stayed with the guitar. We had a couple of different guitar teachers in the church, and we went home and showed each other what we learned. And I really fell in love with the guitar. I stayed with it, and I played it in YF and in Good Sam Singers and at camps and retreats and a whole bunch of other stuff. And in fact, now that it's 50 years since I started high school, I still have a huge priority on music, especially me playing the guitar, and on friendships. And my guitar playing really grew up in and around Good Sam. And my best friend was somebody that I met in YF, and several dozen of my good friends are from my YF years from 45 or 50 years ago. So I attended Good Sam from before birth in utero in 1961 until 2006, when I was 45 years old and moved to Washington State. And I've lived in Washington since then, but whenever I visit family here, I'm still kind of active at Good Sam. There were only a few years when I took my membership somewhere else, and I was less active during college when I was away at Chico. But generally, I've been active with Good Sam my entire life. And it's made a big difference in who I am. The music, the friends, the activities growing up as a kid and as a youth were a big part of who I am and who I've been this whole time. So recently, I've made plans to come down from Washington again and attend the 65th anniversary dinner party and Sunday morning worship service, where I'll be playing the guitar, I presume. And I wish everybody a very happy anniversary for Good Sam.